Nigeria used to be one of Africa's fastest-growing economies. At one point, it was even hailed as the giant of Africa, with a GDP that surpassed South Africa's. But recently, Nigeria's economy has been shrinking at an alarming pace. Although COVID certainly played a role, the decline had already begun long before the pandemic. So, what exactly made Nigeria's economy boom and then bust so dramatically? From the early 2000s to the mid-2010s, Nigeria's economy thrived thanks to high oil prices. Crude oil made up more than 90% of export revenue and around half of government income. This oil boom fueled rapid growth, lifted millions out of poverty, and turned Nigeria into one of the fastest-growing emerging markets. But this heavy dependence on oil was a double-edged sword. When global oil prices fell in 2014, Nigeria's economy was exposed. Government revenues collapsed, foreign reserves dwindled, and the naira, Nigeria's currency, lost much of its value. Meanwhile, other sectors of the economy were neglected. Manufacturing remained weak, infrastructure lagged behind, and agriculture never received the investments needed to modernize. Unemployment soared, and the government became the main employer for many Nigerians, showing just how fragile the private sector really was. The International Monetary Fund warned Nigeria about these risks, urging diversification and structural reforms, but the government was slow to respond, caught in a cycle of overspending during booms and borrowing heavily during busts. Debt levels climbed, inflation rose, and the country became increasingly vulnerable to external shocks. By the time the pandemic struck in 2020, Nigeria's economy was already in a fragile state. COVID lockdowns combined with another oil price crash pushed the country into its deepest recession in decades. Inflation surged, family savings were wiped out, and millions more Nigerians fell into poverty. Even today, the challenges remain severe. The naira continues to weaken, inflation hovers near record highs, and debt servicing consumes much of the government's budget. Corruption, policy missteps, and over-reliance on oil revenues have left Nigeria struggling to stabilize. Still, Nigeria has opportunities. With the continent's largest population, vast natural resources, and a growing tech sector, the country has the potential to bounce back, if it can escape the trap of overdependence. The key is diversification, boosting agriculture, supporting manufacturing, and nurturing its booming digital economy. International partners like the IMF, the World Bank, and the African Development Bank are working with Nigeria to push reforms and stabilize the economy. But ultimately, Nigeria's future depends on its own ability to build a stronger private sector, reduce corruption, and manage its wealth responsibly. Just like how Nigeria's economy is highly dependent on oil revenues, its northern neighbor Niger relies heavily on foreign aid and uranium exports for much of its own economy. This dependence is one of the reasons Nigeria remains vulnerable to political instability and external shocks. But that's definitely not the full story. Click here to find out more, and thank you to my members and to you for watching.